likenepal.com, leading the Nepalese entertainment.
About 2,500 years ago, a child was born in a small kingdom of southern Nepal, Lumbini. His father, the King Siddhārtha, and the Queen Maya Devi named him Prince Siddhārtha Gautama, who would one day become the great Buddha. 7 days after the birth of Prince Siddhārtha, Queen Maya Devi died. After the birth, as a ritual, a royal sage was called to the palace to predict the prince's future. The sage named Kaudinya told the king Siddhārtha that the child would either become a holy man or a great ruler. The sage warned the king that the child would one day renounce the world and become the great Buddha if he saw 4 certain sights. On hearing this, the king made every attempt to keep the prince away from those sights, as he wanted him to be a great ruler. For the next 29 years, the prince would be trained with all kinds of leading art at that time. He was trained to become a skillful archer, a clever swordsman, and a good rider. The prince was confined within the boundary of the palace and did not have any knowledge about pain or sorrow of the outside world. Despite all of the comfort and luxury he was engulfed with, Siddhārtha was never a happy prince. He always wanted to know more about the outside world and the secret to happiness. One fine day, Prince Siddhārtha had an opportunity to make a visit to the royal garden. During the visit, Siddhārtha and Chandak, his charioteer, saw a very old man with a grey hair and a grey beard. The prince then asked Chandak why his hair was painted grey. Chandak told him it's not painted grey, but it's naturally grey due to old age. The prince then asked, "Are we all going to be the same one day?" "Unfortunately, yes, my highness," replied the charioteer. "This is what happens to all human beings as we all grow old one day." He then started pondering in a deep thought. They then returned to the palace. Next day, the prince and his charioteer went for another visit. This time, he saw an old sick man. Then he asked to his charioteer why the man was singing with a distressed voice. Chandak told the prince he was not singing, rather he was at pain due to sickness. The prince then asked, "Do we all suffer from same pain when we become sick?" "Unfortunately, yes, my highness," replied the charioteer. The prince felt helpless on seeing this sight and went back to the palace. another day with his charioteer. This time the prince saw a man being covered with white cloth and carried by some people. On seeing this, he asked again why the man was being covered with white cloths. The charioteer Chandak told him it's because the man has died due to old age and hence he's been carried away for the funeral. This made the prince very sad and asked the charioteer again, "Are we all going to die one day?" "Unfortunately, yes, my highness," replied the charioteer. On seeing these distressful sights for the first time in his life, Prince Siddhārtha was very sad and had many questions arising in his mind. He felt very helpless to learn that every man becomes old, sick, and ultimately die due to old age. The luxury of life and the materialistic world that the prince was surrounded with was not sufficient to keep him happy anymore. He now started to ponder upon the truth of life and the source of happiness. He then made a promise to himself to seek answer to these questions. The birth of his first child, Rahula, was not sufficient enough to keep the prince content. The scenes he had seen outside of the palace was bothering him a lot. The prince told to himself, if he holds him in his arms, he would be attached with love and affection towards his son. He decided not to and left without seeing his first child, only in quest of answer to the suffering and pain he had seen. During his renunciation, he learned the art of meditation from the great Vedas. For the next 6 years, he meditated until he went into starvation. Despite these hard meditation, he was not able to find answer to his quest. Therefore, he decided to feed himself. Finally, after 6 years of continuous meditation, Siddhārtha Gautama got enlightened. Despite attaining enlightenment, he found so much peace within self. He continued meditating for the next 49 days. Today, the world is going through a lot of violence and killings. Crime, hatred, prejudice, discrimination, war, anger, harassment, frustration, greed, and abuse have become an inevitable part of our lives. So much going on, do we even have a solution to these? Yes, we have, and it is the inner peace that we need to stop all of these. The peace that is only possible through the practice of love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, and most importantly, meditation. If only one can learn to live at the present with peace and harmony within self, we can have solution to all of the current world's problem. Buddha's teaching emphasizes on these. The truth of life, he discovered, is to live simple yet a meaningful life. Every man goes through sufferings as part of his karma, the deed. Therefore, do the deeds that will stop us from suffering. The Eightfold Path is the only path to stop the suffering. And these paths are right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration.
Thank you all. I hope you've understood the message that we want to spread. Please give a big round of applause to this Pratibha Nakshatra team. They have been working for straight 11 hours to complete this drama. It's not an easy job. I hope you all enjoyed it and you could assimilate the message. Now, let me recognize the artist here we have. It was the short drama Peace Within, the life story of Buddha, the Enlightened One. The concept was brought to you by none other than the president of Pratibha Nakshatra, Simi Poon. Let's give a bit of a round of applause. Direction by our very own artist and a social worker, Mr. Manish Kumar Shrestha. He was the director involved in all the aspects, every time guiding us throughout the journey since the beginning until the end. And on the narration myself, Lakshman Guru. Thank you all. I hope I could do justice to the narration. Dance choreography, we had Susmita Thapa. She's not here with us, but please big round of applause for her as well. And technical support, we have a very young, talented, and none other than the son of Mr. Manish Kumar Shrestha, Ashish Shrestha. Please give a big round of applause for him as well. He was the audio and visual recording. He did a fantastic job for 11 hours straight recording the voice and all the editings for the music. And the performing artists were the Gautama Buddha, Birendra Nepal, and the old man, Mr. Rajendra Kos, who is also the concept developer of this organization. Sikh man, Mr. Sushil Prajapati, is also the President Pasapasa UK Southeast region. And the charioteer Chanjak, Mr. Binod Chipalu. The royal dancers, Susmita Thapa, Ms. Prerna Manandar Gurung, and Nirmala Dahal. And on the royal soldiers, Hari Banzarik and Raju Neupani. I hope you all enjoyed this short drama and we could spread the message of Buddha. It's not important where he was born. We believe it's important to follow his footsteps and the philosophy. Thank you all. Have a good evening.